It's pretty amazing when you think about it. Imagine a factory that's also kind of like a microscopic symphony, a place that's part recycling plant and part biological wonder. Today, we're going to dive into that incredible process, a microbial assembly line that literally turns our everyday waste into clean energy. So, what's the secret here? How in the world does nature take something like food scraps, or maybe agricultural waste, and magically transform it into a clean, burnable fuel? Well, the answer lies in this absolutely brilliant process that microbes perfected billions of years ago. And that process is called anaerobic digestion. The two keywords you really need to know here are anaerobic, which just means without oxygen, and digestion, which is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. We've got a whole team of microorganisms breaking down organic stuff to produce something called biogas. But listen, this isn't just one simple chemical reaction. Oh no, it's way cooler than that. It's a full-on biological assembly line with four totally distinct stages. Each stage has its own unique team of microbes doing a very specific job, and the output from one team becomes the food for the next. And here's the kicker. If any single one of these stages fails, the whole factory can just grind to a halt. So our assembly line kicks off right here. Welcome to stage one, hydrolysis, run by a team we're going to call the demolition crew. So the first big job starts with the raw material, which is made of these really large, complex, chain-like molecules called polymers. We're talking about things like cellulose, proteins, fats. Now, the demolition crew, these hydrolytic bacteria, they can't actually eat these things directly. They're just too big. So instead, they release these special enzymes that act like molecular scissors, just chopping up those long chains into simple, bite-sized pieces like sugars and amino acids. And this brings us to the main challenge of the entire process. See, hydrolysis is the slowest step of them all. It's the bottleneck. The speed of this demolition work basically sets the pace for the entire biogas factory. Okay, so once those little pieces are ready, they get passed down to the next station on the line, which moves much, much faster. This is stage 2, acidogenesis, and it's run by the acid makers. Here, a different team of bacteria, the acidogenic ones, just rapidly ferment all those simple sugars and amino acids. And what comes out is this kind of cocktail of products, mainly these really energy-rich compounds called volatile fatty acids, or VFAs for short, plus some alcohols, carbon dioxide, and hydrogen. But all that speed creates a serious risk. If these acids get produced faster than the next stage can handle them, the pH inside the whole system starts to drop. They call this souring, and if it gets too acidic, it can actually poison the microbes downstream and shut down the entire operation. It's an incredibly delicate balancing act. And that leads us to the crucial handoff. Welcome to stage 3, acetogenesis. You can think of these microbes as the middle managers of the assembly line. Their job is to prep the product for the final finishers. Their whole job is to take that complex cocktail of volatile fatty acids we just made and convert it into one main product, acetic acid, which you might also know as acetate. This step is absolutely critical because it creates the perfect, standardized food source for the final and, frankly, most important team of microbes. And this is where things get really, really cool. The acetogens, right, they produce hydrogen gas as a waste product. But for them to survive, the hydrogen levels have to be kept incredibly low. Well, how convenient, because the next team in line, the methanogens, consumes that exact same hydrogen as food. This brilliant partnership has a name. It's called synthropy. The survival of one team literally depends on the other team cleaning up its waste. It is a perfect, beautiful example of natural collaboration. All right, we've made it. We're at the final and also the most sensitive stage of the whole assembly line. Stage 4, methanogenesis, carried out by the methane finishers. So these microbes, the methanogens, they're actually ancient life forms called archaea, and they are the canary in the coal mine for the entire system. Why? Because they're what's called obligate anaerobes, which means even a tiny little whiff of oxygen is lethal to them. They're also super picky about pH, so their health is basically the ultimate report card for the health of the whole digester. So how do they actually make the final product, the methane? Well, they use two different chemical pathways. The vast majority, we're talking about 70% of the methane, is produced through what's known as the acetoclastic pathway. Let's just quickly peek at the chemistry. That acetoclastic pathway, the big one, is a direct conversion of that acetic acid from stage 3 into methane and CO2. Simple. The other 30% comes from the hydrogenotropic pathway. That's where the methanogens combine that hydrogen waste from stage 3 with CO2 to make even more methane. And the second pathway is exactly what makes that incredible syntrophic partnership we just talked about possible. So, when you put it all together, what you really have is a perfect microbial symphony. It's not just one thing happening. It's this cascade of interdependent processes, each one perfectly balanced with the next, all leading to one fantastic payoff. So, let's do a quick recap of our assembly line. First, you have the demolition crew making simple monomers. Then, the acid makers step in to create those volatile fatty acids. Next, the middle managers convert those into clean acetate. And finally, the methane finishers deliver the grand prize, the biogas. Each team plays its own specialized, totally essential role. So the ultimate takeaway here is this. What starts out as this intricate, microscopic collaboration between different teams of bacteria and archaea results in a huge macroscopic solution, turning waste that would otherwise just pollute our environment into a real source of clean, renewable energy. And that really just leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? This entire elegant process was designed by nature itself. So it really makes you wonder, if microbes can be harnessed to create fuel right out of our trash, what other powerful natural systems are we just completely underestimating right now?